this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
No. I am your father.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
You're listening to After the Ending, the only film podcast where we tell you what happens after the ending of your favorite films. And now, here are your hosts, Mike Spring and Phil Edwards.
Hello, 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 and welcome to After the Ending. I'm Mike Spring.
And I'm Phil Edwards.
And tonight we are here to bring you a brand new episode filled with thrills and hijinks, or at least some good old-fashioned movie conversation.
Yeah, there's got to be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and who knows what else.
So what I love about you, Phil, is your unbridled ability to sell things with vim and vigor. There's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and maybe some other stuff.
And it's going to be at least...
Right. Don't oversell it, Phil. I don't want people to get too excited and then we can't deliver. You know what I'm saying?
No, you see, you got to temper expectations, so then it's going to be zip boom to the moon.
Under promise and over deliver. I get it. I feel like that's a very... Though maybe I'm stereotyping, but I feel like it's a very British thing. A little bit of that reserved British nature, kind of, and that sort of a thing, right?
Yeah, it could well be. Yes, yeah.
Right. I'm the loud, obnoxious Yank, and you're the reserved, proper British guy, right?
You said it. You said it, not me.
Wow. All right. That didn't take long. Okay. Well, Phil, why don't you tell people what we are discussing in tonight's episode?
Yes, well, tonight we're going to be going after the ending of Akira, the animated film. As you can see, I've got the first volume of the manga. But
very cool.
As we talk about films, we're just focusing on the film. So before you start going, hey, it did carry on in the comics, we know that, but we're dealing with the film and what happens after that. And then we'll be discussing sequel names, why lots of them suck and why some of them are pretty good and things like that. We'll just see how that one goes. And then we'll be talking about our top 5 films we last watched. So that could be a mix of anything, everything. We've got to be totally honest with what it was. Mm-hmm. And also we'll be recommending a few things like we usually do.
All right. It sounds like a jam-packed episode. I like it. So yeah, we're going to kick things off with our After the Ending for 1988's Akira, which was pretty much a groundbreaking anime film. I think a lot of it, by this point, a lot of people I think have seen it. It maybe isn't the type of film everyone in the world has seen, but I think a lot of people in non-Japanese audiences have seen the film by now in home video, in theatrical re-releases. It's really I think the very definition of a cult classic that was also kind of a phenomenon. Would you say that's accurate, Phil?
Yeah, I think so as well. It still blows me away. It's 1988. It came
right.
Out. Because it's I've seen it. I went to see it at the cinema a few years back when it had one of those re-releases, being cleaned up, I think, and it's still an amazing piece of animation, still an amazing film. It's probably one of those anime. It's probably one of the most well-known anime movies out there, because people who even aren't fans of anime in general are probably aware of the film and may even enjoy this one.
Yeah, for sure. Well, how do you? I mean, you've got the manga volume there, obviously. How do you feel about Akira as a movie?
I think it's an excellent movie. Really, it's always. I think it was one of the first anime films I did see, to be honest. Mm-hmm. But I'd always heard about it, and eventually got to see it. It's got some iconic images. I mean, it's even from the poster, but to the bike. So many things. I always feel it loses a little bit of steam, or loses its way a little bit near the end. It gets a little bit confusing, maybe. Mm-hmm. But on rewatch, you sort of pick it up a bit. But it's one of those ones. It's just, I remember as well being in a nightclub years ago when it was playing on all the video screens. It was just the music playing, but you kept seeing it was the whole film just playing through. Probably highly illegal at the time for them to do that. But it was one of those ones, and you could see those groups of people watching, having a drink. They go off and dance, come back, and then just be watching it, and you could see just people getting drawn into it. What about you? What do you feel about the film?
Overall, I like it. I have a bit of a complicated history with it. I feel like I said it a lot on this show. I didn't see it right when it came out, but when I was a teenager, was when the comics were being published by Epic, a Marvel imprint, and I had every issue all the way up through the end, many of which are really hard to find now. And then they got stolen from me, so I don't have them anymore. But I at the time, it was one of my favorite comics ever. I thought the artwork was amazing. I loved the story. I really just thought it was mind blowing. And then the movie had been out, but I saw it on I think I saw it on a video. I think maybe I saw it in the theater in like in a re-release or something like that. But I really did. I mean, I was blown away by the animation, the look of it. I love the characters. I love this bringing of these characters to life, Kaneda and Tetsuo and Kei, that I've been reading about. But it is weird. It's a weird movie. And it just gets weirder as it goes. And the ending is slightly incomprehensible, I think, to most Western audiences. It gets confusing by the end. And it's interesting because the manga does expand the story. In the original comics, the story is so much broader and so much longer, and there's so much more to it. And they really pared it down for the movie. And so I liked the movie, but then I went back and reread the comics a few years ago when they published those volumes that you have, and I found it I didn't have the same experience I had when I read it as a teenager. So I don't know. I don't even know what I think about Akira anymore, to be honest with you, at this point. It's like every time I experience it, I have a different experience. So sometimes I think it's the most brilliant thing ever. Sometimes I think it's highly overrated. Sometimes I love it. Sometimes I like it. Sometimes I'm like, man, I can live without it. Doing this after the ending made me realize I need to rewatch it. It's been several years since I've seen it. So I'm like, all right, that's my mission. Like tonight, I'm going to rewatch Akira and sort of see how I feel about it this week. But it could be very different next week,
Yeah, no, I think I understand what you're getting at there. It's at the very least it's an amazing piece of animation. But yeah, the story itself, the ending as well, is one of those ones that puts me in mind of 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's mind expanding, and it's got many different interpretations. But at a basic level, you could, it'd be okay if you did go what?
Which is I think the reaction.
Yeah,
I admittedly am more of a concrete thinker when it comes to stuff like that. I like my movie endings to just sort of make sense and wrap things up neatly in a bow. And I realize that not everybody requires that for their films, and that's fine. But like 2001 is a perfect example for me. I love 2001. I think it's brilliant until the last 15 minutes. And then I'm like, what the crap am I watching right now? Like, what is even happening here? And it totally, I don't want to say it ruins the whole movie.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it ruins the whole movie for me, but it certainly sours me on it. It would be one of those movies I think I'd probably watch like every couple of years because it's so visually amazing and so interesting, and it's and then the ending comes along and I'm just like, well, what did I just watch that for? And I think Akira does have a little bit of that, but again, I need to rewatch it and we'll see what happens. So.
Yeah. I also remember as well, there's lots of times in the past with friends where one of us goes Tetsuo,
right,
like going on and on like that.
Exactly, yeah. Or we used to do a big when we saw it back in teenagers, we'd always go because that's like they're like sort of you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
When you're watching the movie, if you haven't watched it and you rewatch it again, it's like anytime they need to have a character sort of react but don't actually have dialogue, they just have one of them go like it's so prevalent. Like once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a running joke for us too. But yeah, we would do the same type of thing. Tetsuo, which it's great. It's a cool universe. It's a cool movie and a great comic, and I just like I said, I tend to react very differently depending on how much I'm in tune with the ambiguity of the ending and the weirdness of it all. So
yeah, for many of us, it's probably the gateway to lots of other anime and manga. But if you're watching this live, don't forget, if you're on our Facebook page watching us live, you can leave comments and we'll be able to flash them up on the screen if need be, things like that. So let us know what you think of Akira. The film, the manga, whatever. But yeah, should we crack on with the ending?
Let's do it. All right, I'll set it up. Here we go. Akira, 1988, directed by and based on the manga by Katsuhiro Otomo. Okay, so like I said, it's a weird movie. There's a lot that happens. It's really confusing. I really tried to just boil it down to the basic stuff because trying to explain the whole thing to you if you've never seen it is near impossible. So this is just a quick refresher. Neo Tokyo, 2019. It's been 30 years since much of Japan was instantly destroyed, triggering World War III. In a dystopic Japan, teenage biker gang members Kaneda and Tetsuo and Kaneda's sort of new girlfriend Kei are out and about. Well, Kei comes in later, but anyway, Tetsuo runs into an escaped ESP child, an ESP gifted child, which causes him to start developing powers. The military tries to control all these ESPers. They try to kill Tetsuo. Then Kaneda and Tetsuo get into a big fight. The ESPers trying to help Tetsuo heal. And everybody learns that Akira, the child who actually caused Tokyo to explode in the first place back in 1986 or 1988, whatever it is buried under the city. Tetsuo's powers grow and become more out of control, and eventually he turns into a giant flesh monster thing, a giant mass of flesh, and Akira is he creates a singularity that sucks Kaneda and Tetsuo into another dimension and causes Neo Tokyo to explode again. But the ESPers go in the other dimension. They rescue Kaneda. He rides off into the sunset with Kei, who, of course, is developing psychic powers, while Tetsuo, who's still in another dimension, as I understand it, creates a new universe entirely. Does that sound about right, Phil? Did I mess anything up?
I'll go with that. Yeah.
You sound very confident. You're like,
it's the ending. I would say the ending as well with the. It's always. It just got me thinking about it again. But yes, you're right. Yes, you summed it up very well.
If you have a different interpretation of the ending, man, feel free to throw it out there.
No, I think it's the best. I think that's the best interpretation of it. But there's also lots of, as we said, there's lots of cool visuals, cool motorbike chase, scary teddy bear, cool hovercraft things, riot scenes, lots of very cool moments within the film. Yeah, when the flesh, when he gets all flesh and his arm goes big, that's also cool. But also makes you go, ooh.
Yeah, I don't know if cool is the word I would use, but all right. So you want to give your ending? Or you want me to start with my ending?
Well, I'll do mine, shall I?
That's up to you. Yeah, fine with me.
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right.
Right, okay. Well, ever since the singularity consumed Neo Tokyo for the second time, the world sees a brief period of peace. World governments, scared by the thought of a black hole obliterating their cities at any time, decided it was best if they all worked together to help each other and, try not to rock the boat too much. The residual effects of Akira's singularity also saw an increase in ESPers, or ESP, people with ESP abilities being born around the world. Many were taken into schools designed to train them, but many fell through the cracks or were kept hidden by their parents. It was only when they reached their teens that their powers truly blossomed, and they ended up becoming feared by the general population, as is often the case in these kind of dystopian realities. But their schools ended up becoming training camps and prisons, depending on how they acted. Some espers became soldiers for their governments and ended up hunting down their own kind. The peace of the world fractured, and it eventually broke into skirmishes, battles, and an all-out war between the espers and the normies, as they got called. The world seemed headed to ruin until another singularity briefly appeared in the Sahara Desert. Once it had disappeared, a strange figure stood there, a curious mix of Akira, Tetsuo, and other strange minerals technology. The figure spoke with a whisper that was heard around the world. Silence! Something is coming. We must prepare. And that's it. That's my after the ending for Akira.
All right. Very cool. I like it. I think it's got the requisite, scope and scale that you need to follow up Akira, and it's got the kind of the requisite weirdness also a little bit. You know what I mean? I like this mysterious kind of mashup figure at the end, and then what's coming and everything. I like it. Nice.
Thank you very much.
Done.
Okay, hit me with yours. What's going on with yours?
All right, let me do the thing with the thing. Here we go. I'm gonna go solo. Here we go. All right, so Kei and Kaneda are heroes. They helped save the world from destruction, but nobody knows it. Kaneda tries to tell the world what he did. He crashes talk shows, tries to tell a story, but no one believes him. He goes to the newspapers, but they bury his story in the back as a news oddity, crazy person, not the truth. Kei, meanwhile, finds her powers growing stronger, slowly but surely. As Neo Tokyo rebuilds, Kei becomes more and more in tune with the minds of every citizen of Japan. It starts as background noise, but eventually becomes deafening to her. And finally, as she's threatening to become overwhelmed and swallowed up by her powers, a massive energy burst hits her, seemingly out of nowhere, causing her to discharge her psychic energy like a bomb. Simultaneously, every human being in Japan feels her memories of the events with Kaneda and Tetsuo and Akira, feels them just wash over them. Kei wakes up with a headache, but her powers are gone, never to return. Kaneda, meanwhile, becomes an instant celebrity, using his newfound fame to build a fortune, buy him and Kei a mansion, and begin to live a life of luxury for them both. From the next universe over, Tetsuo looks into our dimension and smiles. He knew Kei was in distress, and was happy that he was able to use his powers for good, something he was unable to do in our dimension the first time around. Then he turned his attention back to the new universe he was creating, where a race of bipedal mammals was just beginning to worship him as a god. And that's the end.
Nice. I like it. It's a happy ending for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly happy ending. I wanted a little tinge of like danger though. So like now you've got these creatures in this other universe starting to worship Tetsuo. So like, how is that going to go? Right? Like, yes, he's happy right now, but like, is that going to cause some problems if they think he's a god and he kind of has these godlike powers? So I don't want to leave it on a slight note of like,
I like it. I like it. The question now is though, who'd win in a fight between Tetsuo, and Dr. Manhattan?
Yes, that's interesting. So when we do the after the ending, we can do an Akira Watchmen crossover and have Tetsuo and Dr. Manhattan just going at it like full on, which would probably be super boring to try and describe though. Awesome.
It'd probably be super boring to watch as well because they'd probably just be standing there looking at each other while things go around. It'd be like some kind of psychic battle. But...
Right. And occasionally Tetsuo would go, eh? And then, that would pretty much be all the action that we would get. So, all right. So, thank you. All right. So that is our after the endings for Akira. Like I said, like Phil said, if you have thoughts on Akira, I know it's not as widespread, not as wide seen a film as some of the other films we've talked about, but I think a lot of people, a lot of movie buffs especially, have seen it. If you're the type of person who likes our show, you might be the type of person who has also seen Akira. So let us know your thoughts on it in the comments.
Tetsuo!
Kaneda! All right. So, Phil, now we're going on to our next topic, which tonight is, and it's funny that you said it exactly the way I wrote it without us communicating that, right? Because as you know, we don't tend to share anything about it. So I typed up, I was like, what's the pithy banner title I can use to discuss Hollywood naming sequels? And you mentioned that Hollywood sucks at naming sequels. And here's what I came up with. Why does Hollywood suck at naming sequels? So you literally took the words right out of the mouth.
Great minds.
Yeah. Exactly. Speaking of which, before we get into that, though, we do have a comment from one of our regular viewers, Richard Brown. Hello, Richard. Glad you're here. Hello. Thanks for watching. Richard says, you guys called it. 90% amazing experience, and then the last 10%, it all goes a bit nuts. It was my first DVD box. Yeah, I do think that's kind of... Honestly, I think it's the one thing that's kept it from being even bigger, even though it was kind of a phenomenon. I do feel like more mainstream audiences would have embraced it if the ending hadn't been so out there. If people could have kind of neatly sort of wrapped it up and said, oh, I get it. I get what happened there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and they keep threatening to do a live action version of the film, but if they do that, I do hope they go back to the manga and pick some more different elements and go a different way.
Yeah, I agree. I hope it's not just a straight remake of the anime. And I think that if you're going to go live action for a movie like that, I think if you're gonna go big Hollywood like that, something that's gonna be made, because they're gonna go live action, it's gonna be $100-200 million. You can get probably Keanu Reeves or somebody to be in it, some big name star. I think you're gonna need to make sure your ending makes sense, because if there's one thing that mainstream audiences don't love, right, it's endings that don't make sense and leave you completely confused. That will kill a movie's word of mouth, I think, faster than a lot of other things.
Yeah.
All right, so why does Hollywood suck at naming sequels? Is the topic we came up with. So obviously, I think, Phil, it's fairly clear probably where both of us sort of stand on this, but let's discuss. Let's get into it. I'll kick off real quickly by what sort of led us to this, which was this. I was at the movie theater the other night. I'll tell you what I was watching shortly, although most of you can probably guess. And I saw the trailer for the new Scream movie, which I was very excited about. I'm a huge fan of the Scream franchise. I love the movies. I even love the TV show. And it's called Scream. Now, when I first heard there was a new Scream movie coming out called Scream, I thought, okay, they're rebooting Scream. Fine, makes sense. It's been many years, But then I watched the trailer, and it's just Scream 5. It is the main characters from the first 4 Scream movies back once again with just a new killer again. It's just Scream 5. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And I've had this conversation before. This is not a new thing. I hate this trend of renaming movies that are already named. So now the franchise is going to go Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 4, Scream. It is asinine, and I hate it. So that's the starting point. Now, we don't want to repeat ourselves, because I've probably ranted about this maybe once or 12 times in other episodes. But let's discuss, Phil, what do you think about sequels? What are some good examples? What are some bad examples? What do you have? What are sort of your thoughts on,
Well, yeah, I
sequel?
think you're right. If you're going to start doing something where you have a sequel where it's like, as for example, Scream 2, Scream 3, I think you should carry that on with the numbers. As soon as you call a new film Scream, again, you start thinking it's a reboot. But all the press releases is everything said Scream 5. They did it with Halloween, even though that cuts out some of the sequels, but it's still, again, it's the first film is called Halloween. This new one's Halloween. But some of the good ones, I mean, you got just at a basic level, you got Alien and Aliens, just adding the S at the end. That's a good one.
Watch those in the order.
So I didn't get that. You broke up a bit there with that one. I'll carry on talking while Mike comes back. But you get things. I mean, in Back to the Future 2, they even reference the whole Jaws, whatever. The fact there's so many sequels, but you got Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure going into Bogus Journey. I like it when they do something where you still know it's the same series of films, but they change the title, like Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, Before Midnight. I think that's a brilliant way if you're going to do sequels and it becomes a proper trilogy 28 weeks later, 28 months later. So they're good ones. Then you've got the whole Fast and Furious sequel, which is a law unto itself with the many different names and titles. So you do have some good ones, but then most of the time it is just, well, Richard Brown comments on that because lots of the times a sequel is almost an afterthought. So they just say, let's put a number after it and see what goes on with that. But yeah, I don't mind though the numbers because at least then you know which one to watch in order. But what about you? What is some of your favorite sequel names? What are some of the worst ones?
So I think, I'm like, I agree with pretty much everything you said, right? I think there are certain ones that, sort of buck the trend. Alien and Aliens, brilliant. But that was also a long time ago before there was nearly as many sequels that had as many iterations as they do now. You know what I mean? I like the way Marvel does it, to be honest with you, for the most part. I mean, I do like my sequels to be numbered in a way, just because it's easy to keep track of which ones are which, especially as franchises go longer and longer. But like, you've got Thor, The Dark World, Thor Ragnarok. Then we're gonna have Thor Love and Thunder, I think, is the next one, right? You got Captain America, the Winter Soldier, Civil War, right?
Yeah.
Avengers, Endgame, Rise of Ultron. Like they do. Because like Richard says here on the comment, right? The sequel is almost always an afterthought, and halfway through production, some aide is charged with figuring out how to market it with complete disregard to the story. And I do think that's been traditionally sort of how it works, but I don't think as much anymore. I mean, it depends on what the movies are. I think like your Marvel Studios and those types of things, they put a lot into this, and they know where they're going with these films before they've even set one thing on film, right? So those I like because they do really tie into the story. Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, like those really sort of sum up those movies. I like that a lot. I hate things like, I mentioned this once before, The Suicide Squad being the not sequel, not reboot of Suicide Squad. It is ridiculous. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. It is different from the Aliens thing. You know what I mean? And not only is it just annoying, it's annoying when you're like searching for movies, right? When you go looking up something like a trailer on YouTube and you do a search for the Suicide Squad trailer and you want the first movie, but all that comes up is the second movie. Yeah, because it's the exact same name. Like, it's killing SEO, for people who are into that kind of thing. Like, it's got to be so hard to, for marketing perspectives, Hellboy and Hellboy is another example that we've got.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Predator and the Predator. It's just like, really, guys. I understand the reasoning is they want to try and get new audiences, so they don't want to tack on a number that's going to make it seem like you have to see a bunch of other films first. But first of all, that rarely works. Okay, your Scream fans are going to come out and see Scream. Your Predator fans are going to come out and see Predator. Chances of it usually getting a whole new audience generally has not worked all that well. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether they named it Predator 5 or The Predator or Predator, let's go to the movies, none of that was probably going to draw in and make it a, $300 million grossing movie, right? People know the franchises well enough, right? People know Scream. They don't need to try and be fooled into thinking it's a new Scream movie, right? So have some creativity, do something, different with it. Do like a Marvel style, give it a subtitle, whatever, if you don't want to give it a number, Scream again. I don't know. That's a terrible, but is it? I mean, it's, it works. It's
even something just like Scream Ghostface or something like that. Would have been.
Yeah, right. Something like that. Scream. What is it like? The Return of Ghostface. They did that with Halloween, right? The Return of Michael Myers, Revenge of Michael Myers, the Recipes of Michael Myers, like whatever. Like something like that. Give us something to differentiate it. I just don't think it's that hard. That's the thing. I think
you've even got like there's a list here of like some of the worst title sequels, but even these have got a bit more imagination to them. It's got Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Back to the Hood, yeah. Breaking 2, Electric Boogaloo.
That's one of the best ever. Don't even.
Oh yeah, I know. That's what I thought when I saw it on the list. I was going, oh, that's not right.
That list has now lost all credibility for me.
What else is there? Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel.
I love that one. I think
there's imagination with that one.
That is brilliant. What are you talking? Even when that movie came out and went to see it in the theaters with my kids, I thought that was brilliant. The Squeakquel. Come on.
Yeah.
That's fantastic wordplay.
But it's just any kind of imagination is good, but like it's as I mentioned, the Fast and Furious films, they're all over the place with the way they do their titles.
Now that is I'm a huge fan of the Fast and the Furious franchise. I am not a fan of their naming convention, right?
Yeah,
where it's just like, well, we can't call it the same thing. So they did the same thing where it was the first movie was the Fast and the Furious, then the fourth movie was Fast and Furious, and then it became Fast 5, which I thought seemed fine, but then it went to Furious 6, like Fast, I forget how, even it wasn't like back and forth. They change it every time, and then the last one was just F9, the Fast Saga, which is a terrible name it's not a name for a movie. It's like a catalog entry. I don't care for that at all.
When you were doing that, it makes it sound like when you're trying to go over the films, it makes it sound like I know you're a big fan of the films, but it's even then you can get all the titles right, but it makes it sound like you're somebody who has no idea what these. You've got a vague idea about them. You're going because there's Fast and Furious, then there's the Tokyo Drift, and there's this, but it's such a mess. It's just.
I know. I agree.
It's just.
I do think Too Fast, Too Furious was pretty clever, but I would have rather seen them do stuff like Fast and the Furious 3, Tokyo Drift, Fast and the Furious 4, the return of, Dom Toretto, whatever, some subtitles or something like that.
Fast and Furious 5, Dom enunciates better. That'd be a good one.
Hey, Fast 5 is the best movie in the franchise. Don't go knocking on that one, okay?
Which one is that one? Is that the one they're playing at the end? Anyway, let's forget on the topic. Yeah.
Okay. That's Fast 8, or Furious 8, or the Fate of the Furious. That one I kind of like. Because it's, the F8 Fate. I get that. That one I kind of dig. But by and large, not a fan of their naming conventions. Richard nails this one though. On sequels, The Predator is on tonight. This is an example. We have to call it Predator, right? And it's new, right? But it's all new, like not just new, right? So you're hired. That's pretty much how it goes, I think, with some of these, And
I think lots of them as well. It's probably when they have when they get a group focus groups, as well, and people go and they're going, well, it's the Predator, isn't it? So you got to just call it that and doing that because otherwise people aren't going to know. And you're going, we'll call it the Predator something. The Predator's back.
Yeah, the Predator returns, or Predator returns, or Predator : It's a Hot Time in the City Tonight, whatever. I don't even care. Just give it something better than just The Predator for a movie that's already out called Predator. It just makes it confusing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's like, oh man, I loved Scream. You liked Scream? I thought it was terrible. They're all too old. No. Scream. I love Scream. I don't like Scream. Scream is terrible, but Scream is amazing. It's like, it's stupid. Now I have to differentiate for the rest of my life. Oh, I love the original Scream, but the 2022 Scream was highly inferior. Like, I don't need to do that. I just want to say Scream, or Scream 5. Richard's on fire tonight with The Predator Human Buffet. I like that one too.
But the new Scream film, why don't they call it Screams?
There you go. That would have worked for me, actually, because at least it's different. And it's clever. That would have been funny. A little play on the whole aliens thing, right?
Yeah.
I will say I lament the fact that, well, I don't lament it because it never actually happened, but one of my favorite sequel naming stories goes way back to the 80s when they were doing Jaws 3. I'm sure you know this story. There had been, after Jaws 2, when they were developing Jaws 3, not really knowing where to go with the story, there was talk of making it a parody movie of the first two films. And so the original title for Jaws 3 was Jaws 3 People Zero. Which I thought was pretty brilliant, and I would have loved to have seen that come to fruition. But obviously, they ended up going with Jaws 3D, and the rest is history. But that one does crack me up.
That would have been good actually. But there's a list here as well. I mean, Sharknado 2, the second one.
Mm-hmm.
That's at least there's a little bit of imagination in that one.
But see, that one's a parody movie to begin with. So saying like Sharknado 2, the second one, is clearly meant to be like, hey, we know we're not great. It's not like Sharknado 2, it's awesome. It's just Sharknado 2, the second one. That's self-referential, and I have no problem with that. You know?
This one, I'm not sure this is true, but apparently the original title for Hot Tub Time Machine 2 was Hot Tub Time Machine 3, because Hot Tub Time Machine 2 hasn't happened yet. Which just leans right into the whole concept.
Right. Which would have been fun. Which would have been very fun. A little unwieldy, right?
Hard to totally. But
whatever. But
I could see why that one came up with. But even like Look Who's Talking, Look Who's Talking 2, Look Who's Talking Now.
Right.
That's something. It's using a little bit of imagination, thinking a little bit outside the box.
Mm-hmm. Or even something like Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents, Meet the Fockers. Like it keeps the convention, even though it changes it somewhat. You know what I mean? Because marketing does exist, right? You're not living in a vacuum. You're not going to see a trailer for Meet the Fockers and be like, what's this movie? I've never heard of this, Or I do like, here's one I do like. Actually, I have to admit, I never actually even saw the sequel, but Analyze This and Analyze That.
Yes.
With Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro. I thought that was pretty clever, right? It's just not that hard, you know what I mean? But this idea of renaming a movie a name that's already existing. It's one thing if it's a reboot. That's one thing, although I'm not a fan of that still. Again, Hellboy is, sort of a good example of that. But if it's a reboot of like a remake, a pure remake, I'm okay with that. If you're just remaking a movie from like 1950, that's fine. But just stop reusing the name. Like what is the next Star Wars movie going to be called just Star Wars? Like that's problematic. I know Star Wars is A New Hope, but most people still call it Star Wars, like you just,
Well, yeah, Richard mentions the Die Hard films. I was going to mention that as well. Cause I mean, Die Hard 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then
Die Hard was Die Harder, or at least subtitled Die Harder, right?
Yeah, and then there's Die Hard 4.0, which sort of ties in with the whole plot of it because it's
and also, and over here in the US, that was actually called Live Free or Die Hard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Was it? Or was that the fifth one? What was the fifth one?
No, that was A Good Day to Die Hard, I believe.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see. It goes on. It's a bit messy, but at least they did think a little bit with some of them and just played on the whole word. And thankfully they didn't go Die Harder. That would have been dreadful.
Right. Yeah, I think the Die Hard ones are a little clunky. They're not my favorite, but I don't dislike them because at least they tried something a little bit different. You know what I mean? For a film that I don't think was ever even really thought about having a sequel, right? It certainly isn't the type of movie that was designed to have a sequel, So yeah, I think by the end it got a little unwieldy, but like I said, they all kind of work. I mean, they all work because they used, I think, real sayings. Like over here again, live free or die hard. That's one of the state mottos. A good day to die hard is kind of a play on like it's a good day to die. So like I think they got a pass. Again, not my favorite ever, but I don't give them too hard of a time,
Yeah.
I mean, I give him more of a hard time for the fact that fifth movie is just god awful.
I know.
But they called it.
Yeah, but I'm just and it's same with Star Wars. At least with Star Wars, then it's got a subtitle. Same with the Indiana Jones films,
right?
Things like that, leading into the whole serial kind of structure as well. But there are, because there's so many examples that do work and show it is possible. But as you say, the ones where they just use the same name and it's a sequel doesn't work. It's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
But and you mentioned as well, but if it's a remake, then that's kind of okay because it's a remake of the same thing.
Right.
It's not a sequel, so it doesn't really matter. But
right,
yeah. But if anybody else out there's any good, what's your favorite sequel name? Which one do you think is the cleverest? What's the dumbest, apart from Dumb and Dumberer, which is kind of clever because considering what this.
That one's funny because it's meant to be dumb, to indicate the stupid. Here's the one that I pick on that I have a love-hate relationship with because I love some of them and I hate some of them. The Rambo franchise. Now I'm a big fan of the Rambo franchise, right? So First Blood, named after the book, perfect, right? Then you got Rambo, First Blood Part 2, but mostly just called Rambo. I'm okay with that because the character had become bigger at that point. Then you get Rambo 3, which is slightly problematic because it's not right. I mean, it is Rambo 3, but it isn't Rambo 3, right? Because there wasn't a Rambo 2, right? So that's a little bit confusing. Then you have a big break, and then in 2008 you have Rambo, which is problematic because there's already one out there. But what makes that one worse is if you look at it anywhere outside of the film, it's just referred to as Rambo 2008, right? Inside the film, the credits actually show it as John Rambo, which was the original name for the film, but they shortened it for marketing. So it's like, I hate it, but also would have liked it fine if it was called John Rambo, right? And then you got the last one, Rambo Last Blood, which I actually think is really clever because First Blood, Last Blood, as the last film in the franchise, reps it all around full circle, right? I mean, again, a god-awful film, but I like that. So a very weird, that's one that just was never meant to really flow together like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But First Blood's so good, though.
Yeah, for sure. Listen, First Blood is amazing, and Rambo is amazing. I love Rambo, and I actually like Rambo 3 quite a bit as well. And I've come around on Rambo, John Rambo, whatever you want to call that, but the last one, not so much. But anyway, those first 3 films, I love them.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right.
I think that's. I think we've covered.
We've beaten that point into the ground.
I'm sure that when we finish recording, we'll be both going, "Oh, there was that one as well."
Yeah, right, exactly. And for listeners, regular listeners and viewers out there, I apologize because this will probably not be the last time you're going to hear this rant from me because it really, really grinds my gears every time they announce a new movie with the same name as a previous one. It sends me into an uproar all over again. So clearly, it's a trigger for me. I apologize.
Well, I'm hoping for a trilogy of films, and every single film in the trilogy just has the same name.
Right, exactly.
These are different fonts in the marketing.
Right. The Bomb Squad, and then the next film will be The Bomb Squad, and then the third film will be The Bomb Squad, and it's going to be like, hey, awesome. I do agree with Richard here on this one. 2001, 2010, straightforward, makes a point, less pretentious than the movies, definitely. I like that one too. I'm good with 2001, 2010, and 2010 even has the year we made contact, the subtitle. But I think again, that's like an Aliens one to me, right? 2001 takes place in 2001, 2010 takes place in 2010. Like it's, it works. Simple.
Because Aliens, then Alien 3 doesn't. Yeah.
Right. Agreed. But I guess Aliens is maybe it wouldn't have worked. So
that should have been called Less Aliens. Should have been Aliens, Less Aliens.
It is. Right. It's Alien 3 because they went back to the 1 and then Alien Resurrection and all that stuff. So, and then it went with Prometheus and we don't even count those. So, all right. So, all right, that's going to wrap up our sequel talk. And now it is time to get into our top 5 list. And as you guys know, we like to mix into our top 5 lists. Sometimes we do a traditional top 5 list. And sometimes we do what we call the last 5 films we watched, where it gives us a chance to talk about some movies we wouldn't normally have a chance to talk about because we can't do an after the ending for them. Maybe if they're too new or they have a sequel, or because it's brand new. So we don't like to do movies less than 5 years old when we do our after the endings because of spoilers and stuff like that. So this is the last 5 films we watched. Phil, what's the rules for this?
It has to be the last 5 films we watched. We cannot. That's basically it. But it sounds obvious, but many a time when people say, what was the last film you watched? And if it's one which you maybe don't consider that good, or you think that they might not consider good, you find yourself self-censoring, even though you shouldn't. And you go, well, no, it was it was Citizen Kane. Right. Even though you've just watched something dreadful. Like
Gentleman Must Die.
Yeah. But it's got to be whatever we last saw. Obviously, if you watched a film 2 or 3 times, and the last 5 ones we just counted once. But yeah,
right. Are you watching a lot of films 2 or 3 times within your last 5 film outings?
Well, just before this, I went to see Dune twice.
I got you.
Okay. Cinema, I went to see it on IMAX. But...
All right. So let me do a quick update for people who've listened to our last episode. It is not going to be in my last 5 films I've watched, but I did see Dune. In our last episode, we talked about Dune, our journeys with Dune. You had seen the new film at that point. I had not. So for anybody who's curious how I feel about the new Dune, because as I mentioned in our discussion, I have kind of a complicated history with Dune franchise. I'm happy to say I actually really, really liked it. I liked it quite a bit, more than I expected to be honest with you. I followed the story just fine. I thought it was really well done, really well made. It looked great. I enjoyed the story. I liked the characters. The whole thing just worked for me. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, it's my favorite film of the year. I thought it was the best thing I've ever seen or anything like that, but I definitely enjoyed it. I definitely would watch it again. I think people overall will really like it. And I have a weird compliment to pay the movie, but I'm going to pay it anyway.
Okay.
Which is one of the things I really liked about it was they were unafraid to show heterosexual male affection. What I mean by that, several scenes where two male characters who are not in a romantic relationship hugged each other, patted each other on the back. The father touches the son on the face, right? They hug. There's so many movies that don't show that stuff because I don't know if whatever the reason is, if they're afraid it's going to be seen as, gay or whatever, but there's so many times you don't see that. And it's like, I really like to see strong relationships. And I like the idea that Paul Atreides and Duncan Idaho, like they haven't seen each other in a while and he runs up and gives him a big hug. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's okay. It's okay to show that. People are allowed to have affection for each other, whether they're straight, gay, in between. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's about that. I love the scene where, Paul's father, touches his face and tells him, all I need you to be is my son. Right. And even another scene where Paul kind of walks in or his dad walks in and kind of pats Paul on the back and sort of puts his hand on his back.
That's right. And when Paul runs up, he sees Thufir Hawat when he lands on there as well. And he runs up and he sort of runs ahead of his father like that, probably breaking protocol, but runs up and gives him a big hug because he hasn't seen him for a while. Yeah.
Right, exactly. That's who I meant, not Duncan Idaho. Who
he does it as well with Duncan as well. When so it doesn't.
Yeah. I just thought that was really in a film that's really about family, right? And has this, you have to get this family and these relationships established in order to really buy into this world. Right. I thought that was a really nice touch that it was like, hey, it's okay for our characters to show affection for each other. It's totally fine. And I really like that. I know it's a strange thing to pick up on, but I always noticed the lack of it in so many mainstream films. So it was nice to see it done so well.
You're right. Yeah. And it made it more real, made the characters, gave those instant connections.
Yeah, you just cared about them more, I thought, because you're like, oh, this dad loves his son. So many of these movies, you see this royalty and it's like this supposed relationship between this father and the son, but you never really see it on screen, right? But there's no doubt that, that Duncan Atreides loves his son, Paul Atreides. And you get that not just from the dialogue, but from the physical acting as well. And I think that's huge. So I just wanted to tell you guys that. I really liked Dune, and that was something I liked about it.
Excellent. Yeah, it's a film. Go see it if you haven't. It's worth seeing on the big screen.
Absolutely. So anyway, that was a long story, but let me get into it. I'll kick off since you did your endings first. I'll kick off with my number 5. I've been watching a lot of movies lately. That's why Dune didn't make my most recent 5. But my number 5 was one I commented on Facebook. I think, Phil, you saw it, but it was Black Dog. From, I believe, 1998, starring Patrick Swayze and Randy Travis and Meatloaf. Not a cast that makes you sit up and go, I have to see this movie.
But then again, it does.
Right. You're right. Right. Part of you is like, wait a minute, Patrick Swayze, Randy Travis, and Meatloaf. I do kind of need to see this movie.
I know. Right? What's going on there?
Yeah, it is an unabashed 90s action movie that I think is highly, highly underrated. I don't mean to say it's a masterpiece of cinematic genius, right? It is not like, a Christopher Nolan or Stanley Kubrick level film. But 90s action movies is one of my favorite genres ever. I love them. If you like that genre and you just want a good, fun action movie, Black Dog will absolutely fit the bill. Patrick Swayze is a trucker. He kind of gets blackmailed into hauling an illegal load of guns. There's another group of hijackers trying to steal them from him. Plus the FBI and the ATF are on the trail, and he's got to run away or avoid or fight these other truckers and the FBI and all this stuff. So it's got your requisite car chases. It's got some, out of the truck. It's not just like a pure truck, driving movie. It's got scenes outside of it. It's got a great, climax, I think. I just really enjoy it. It is a really, really fun 90s action movie. If you like those kinds of movies, just a good way to check your brain at the door for 90 minutes and just enjoy some really, kind of good action filmmaking. Black Dog, I think it's really worth it. So that's my number 5, the one.
Cool. Yeah. When you shared that, I realized I'd never seen it. So it's one of those ones I need to have a watch because I do like a bit of this Swayze.
I think you'll enjoy it. You just have to be in the right mood. Not really in the right mood. You just have to know what you're going in for. You know what I mean? This is just a good old-fashioned action flick.
Cool. Okay, my my first one is it's called The Lift, or El Ascensor. So I think it's Spanish, but it was popped up on my on Amazon Prime on the, like because it's 1 hour 10 minutes because I didn't have much time, but it was like suddenly there was a thing saying films under so much time, and I put it on because I like the tagline as well. It's basically a couple on their 5th wedding anniversary having an argument, and they go inside the lift or the elevator for our American viewers, but they go in there and basically get caught in a time loop. So as it moves down from the 10 floors, when it reaches the bottom floor, time resets in the back at the top, and it keeps going down, and they're having this argument, but only one of them knows the time when whoever pressed the button gets caught in the loop. So at first, all the husband is in the loop, and as he realizes this, panics, but then he starts using it to find out some truth about she's being evasive and finds out some secrets. But then she realizes what's going on. She presses the button after another argument, and then she does the same thing, and then they both press the button. But it's really good, especially because most time loops movies are usually like a day or so. But this one, it's just the time going down, 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 resets. It's a really low budget. It's only 2 actors in it, but it's worth a watch. It was a nice little twist on the time loop movie, and I really like the way it was doing. And when they work things out, it sort of starts falling apart a bit when they start working out what it is, but it still tells a good story, and I just like the concept. But that's The Lift, or El Ascensor.
That sounds really interesting. I'll have to check that out. See if it's on Prime over here. Very cool. All right. My number 4, I number them. I go in backwards order, so it goes from the furthest out to the most recent one. But my number 4 is called There's Someone Inside Your House. It's actually a brand new film. I found it on Netflix just flipping around looking for something to watch a couple nights ago. It's a horror movie from 2021. I think it just came out on Netflix. No real name stars in it. I think it's almost entirely unknowns. I'm trying to remember if there's anybody at all that I recognize. There may be 1 or 2 supporting actors, like older actors. It's it's a horror movie. It's a slasher film, basically.
I've seen the poster for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And very few scenes with somebody inside the house, by the way. The name is a little bit misleading. Here's what I thought about it, though, and I say this as a good thing, not a bad thing. It's the most 2021 horror film I've ever seen, right? In that your main group of characters was like a Hawaiian Asian girl, an African American girl, a Hispanic male, a non-binary character, and a gay white male, right? Like, not a straight, and a straight white dude, actually, just to check all the boxes, right? And I say that, like I said, not as a bad thing. I think it's great. I like to see representation in movies. It just struck me that they were all in this one friend group. I'm like, wow, this is so 2021. But I also know I have a high school daughter. Like, I know that's what friend groups look like. You know what I mean? So it is not unwarranted. But I enjoyed it. It's nothing special. It's not like, oh my gosh, you have to watch this movie. If you like slasher films, which I do, it's a perfectly enjoyable one. Good way to kill 90 minutes or so. I think it keeps you guessing. It's one of those ones as sort of, what's the identity or the secret of the killer. Kind of keeps you guessing for a while. Nothing groundbreaking about it, nothing crazy or whatever. But like I said, enjoyable. If you're just looking for a slasher film, something to pass the time with, if you like those, it's perfectly fun. So it's called There's Someone Inside Your House. And again, I saw it on Netflix. I think it came out just recently.
Okay. Yeah, I do like a slasher movie, so I might give that one a watch. My number 4 is from 2016. It's London Has Fallen. It's the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen. It was last week, I think. It was in the evening. I wanted to watch an action movie I've not seen before. Something a bit mindless, a bit silly. And that was in one of the streaming queues. And I went, I'll watch that. I like Jared Butler.
Yep.
I enjoyed Olympus Has Fallen. They're not going to win any awards. If it did win any awards, I apologize. But
I don't think so.
I like the concept. I like the fact he's just. I mean, when the SAS turn up and he's just charging ahead and he'll get shot. Anyway, but it's just I liked it. There's some good scenes in London, especially when everything kicks off and there's all the explosions and shots like that. It's stupid action. It was just what I wanted to watch at the time. I enjoyed it. May never watch it again, but at the time I really enjoyed it. That's my number 4.
There you go. Sometimes very often especially when it's late at night, all I want is just a decent action flick. It is my favorite genre, and I have a hard time sometimes just finding a good one that I haven't seen or I haven't seen in a long time. I'll go back to some of the 90s ones, Black Dog. I saw it when it came out in 98. hadn't seen it since then. You know what I mean? So it had been 20 plus years, and I watched it again, and I loved it because I hadn't seen it in so long. And sometimes I flip around, just like, can I just find an action movie I haven't seen in a long time?
Yeah,
I'm in the mood to watch, so I get that. Actually, London Has Fallen is like you said, pretty good for what it is. I think I might like it a little bit better than the first one. Actually, I didn't love the first one, but I think the second one I kind of enjoyed more. It's a little bigger
yeah.
in scope, and I think I kind of enjoyed it for that. So
yeah, I mean, it's just, as you say, I mean, you're always in this. Your mood for what film genres changes all the time, depending upon what's been going on the day, where you are, who's with you, things like that. And sometimes you just want that. But yeah, that was my number 4.
Very good. All right. Well, my number 3 film is probably, spoiler alert, probably going to be on my top 10 list of the year for when we do our top 10 list at the end of the year. Now, here's the thing. Had you told me earlier this year that one of my top 10 films of the year would be a biopic of televangelists Jim and Tammy Faye Baker,
okay, yeah,
I would have probably told you were smoking crack. However, my number 3 film is The Eyes of Tammy Faye, starring Jessica Chastain of all people as Tammy Faye Baker, who I think most people know who she is still. I think her name is still famous enough. And Andrew Garfield as Jim Baker. Again, if you had told me that's who you were casting in a movie about Jim and Tammy Faye, I would have said you were crazy, right? Because who would cast those two as those two? But here's what I will say. The movie is absolutely amazing. Jessica Chastain's performance is phenomenal. The way she channels Tammy Faye, the way she gets her laugh down, the way that the makeup they do on her, not just the makeup, the Tammy Faye makeup, like the prosthetic makeup to make her face kind of fit the shape, but then also the Tammy Faye makeup. Andrew Garfield, it's like light prosthetics just to sort of change the shape of their face. Same thing. His performance as Jim Baker as like this sort of like down home, gooberish kind of guy who then becomes like this world famous televangelist. Also excellent. Overshadowed by Jessica Chastain. She's going to get all the acclaim, I think, come awards time. But Andrew Garfield, also spectacular. Really great supporting cast like Cherry Jones and Vincent D'Onofrio, a bunch of other recognizable faces. But just really an interesting story. Like, everyone knows Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, but no one really... All you know is that they were televangelists, and he got taken down in a scandal. She wore lots of makeup and cried all the time, right? But there was so much more to the story. You know what I mean? But this movie kind of tells their story of how they came up, how they got their start. Like they started doing like a puppet show, like how the ministry grew, how then the financial troubles started, the affairs, the scandals. Also an interesting look at Tammy Faye in terms of what she did on the positive side of things. She worked with LGBT people when it was very unpopular in the church, and Jerry Falwell was trying to shut her down for that. She talked to like an AIDS patient, like early on, a gay AIDS patient. She had him on the show, which was not approved by the higher ups in the church because she believed in that those people were just regular people who deserve to be loved, which was pretty progressive, especially in the the tele-evangelical world in the 80s, right? So she did a lot of good things too. But the film is definitely kind of a it's not painting her as like some completely innocent hero, but it's also not painting her as a villain. But I loved it. I was glued to the screen. I thought the performances were amazing. I learned so much about them I didn't know. Like Tammy Faye had something like 25 albums out. I didn't even know she sang because I never watched them. You know what I mean? Beyond seeing them in news clips and stuff. Really, really good film. Highly recommend it. The Eyes of Tammy Faye. There's also a documentary from a few years ago with the same name. That's not. I'm sure it's good, but I haven't seen it. This is the biopic. Highly recommended.
Cool, yeah, because I like the trailer for that, and it's over here, as I say, just know the basics of who they were.
Right.
The scandal. I don't know any of the details of the scandals too much, but yeah, the trailer looked really good, and I've heard good things about her performance and the film and things. But it's good to know. It's a good one. Yeah, I look forward to that
for sure. If she doesn't get nominated for an Oscar, I'm going to be very disappointed because she's phenomenal in it.
Cool. Okay. Well, my number 3 is from this year, 2021. It's a Nicolas Cage film, so who knows which way it's going to go. It's Prisoners of the Ghostland, directed by Sion Sono. I got sent a screener disc to review, and it could be one of the best films I've seen this year. It could be one of the worst films I've seen this year. At the same time, it's the Schrodinger's cat of a movie, basically. It could have done with a bigger budget, but the low budget works well. Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage, but he's not Nicolas Cage enough. But he is in some places, and then it's like sort of set in this kind of, there's samurais, there's gunmen, there's people like wearing Mad Max kind of gear. Sion Sono films are kind of a bit trippy anyway, but this one was more trippy. I enjoyed it more as it went on, and you start finding out more of the backstory. But it's kind of, I wish I'd either been watching it with either really, really drunk or on some kind of weird hallucinogenic. I might have got a lot more out of it, but I don't know if I can recommend it or not. It's really, it began as a struggle to watch, but then as it went on, as I say, I got more into it. I think Nicolas Cage did give a damn. There's a weird bit when he's on a little push bike.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Prisoners of the Ghostland.
So interestingly enough, Phil, I've watched the first half of that movie. I have not finished it yet, which is why it didn't make my top 5 films. I started it the other day, didn't get a chance to finish it, and haven't come back to it yet. So I know what you're talking about. And it was interesting because I got the review, a DVD, a Blu-ray copy to review, and on the cover of it, I don't know if yours has this or not. It's got a quote from Nicolas Cage. You know, like usually they have the quotes from the movie critics, and it says,
yeah,
you know, maybe the wildest movie I've ever made, or something like that. And that's saying a lot from Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
right. So I got about halfway through. I have not finished it yet, so I can't share my full opinion, but I will definitely say it is weird. It is out there. It is wild. I don't know that it's. I agree with exactly what you said. I don't think it could be the best film of the year. I don't think it's the worst film of the year, but it's certainly both kind of good and bad.
Yeah,
mixed together for sure. It's a weird film, without a doubt, and I can see how some people will really love it, and it has future cult classic written all over it. But I can also see how a lot of people just think it's a pile of garbage, and I wouldn't argue with that either.
I think a lot of it's going to depend who you're watching it with, what time of night it is.
I agree. A big group of friends, party atmosphere is the way to watch this film. Just sitting and watching it as a serious contemplative film, not so much.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
cool.
Prisoners of the Ghostland.
All right. Well, my number 2 is Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake, which satisfies the naming convention because it is, I guess it's more of a reboot. So I don't know where I am on that. When we talk about sequel naming, it is kind of meant to restart the entire franchise. And it is sort of, it's not really an original story because it is kind of a sequel. Well, anyway, I guess they fail. But it's Friday the 13th, 2009 reboot. I don't know why. It had been popping up on my HBO Max queue, like on the, hey, movies for you thing. And I was like, I haven't seen that in a while. I should rewatch it because I do like Friday the 13th movies. It's got Jared Padalecki in it and, a couple other actors, Danielle Panabaker's in it, people that I like. So I was like, And so one night I just kind of was like, yep, I'm going to watch this tonight. So I threw it on and I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird film, I think, in a way. Like, it's not bad. It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination. It's got some fun kills in it and stuff, and it's gory enough without being like over the top gory. Some of the writing is not great, which I know it's not like surprise, but like it's like I don't know. It's just kind of like there's something about it that doesn't quite click, but it's also never like boring. Like it gets into the action right away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it keeps the suspense up. It's got all your prerequisites, it's got your kills. It's got people getting naked, it's got, dumb people doing dumb things and paying the price for it. It's got some recognizable faces that I like. So it's, so I watch it and I think like, I remember liking it the first time and I watched it this time. And like I said, it wasn't like I disliked it. It was just kind of like certain things about it. Like the non-Jared Padalecki character that you think are boyfriend and girlfriend until like halfway through the film when the boyfriend goes off with another girl and the girlfriend isn't upset about it. And you're like, I guess they're not actually a couple, but they sure seemed like a couple this whole time. Like it's just some certain things that kind of don't quite click, but it's not terrible. Not great. I don't know. So it's a way to kill 90 minutes. It's about all I can say.
Okay. I've not seen that one, to be honest.
Really?
Why? No.
No. I mean, it's worth watching just for the fun of it if you're in the mood for a slasher film.
I always like a bit of Jason action.
Yeah, I like those movies. I've watched all the Friday the 13th movies a couple of times. I don't know. I like going back to them every couple of years.
Cool. Yeah, I've only seen one or two of them.
Really?
Yeah, I should sit down and like marathon them.
I think, it's funny. It's a pretty fun franchise to marathon. It kind of has its ups and downs. Like the first like 3 are kind of like the pure classic ones, right? Because you've got the first one, which is mostly, spoilers, everybody hasn't seen them, I guess. But there's mostly Jason's mother. The second one kind of introduces Jason. The third one introduces the hockey mask. Those are sort of your then you've got 4, 5, and 6, which are kind of like over the top. But 4 and 6 to me are 2 of the best ones. 7 and 8, not so much. That you're getting into Jason Takes Manhattan, which is I always want to like that movie, but it is one of the worst.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's one of the ones I've seen, and it's one I always feel like, oh yeah, this should be really good, but it's just not.
No, it's just so low budget and like just not good. Then you got Friday Jason Goes to Hell, which is actually kind of interesting. It doesn't entirely work, but it's an interesting idea. And there's parts of it I like. And then you get into Jason X, which I love. I
really like that one as well.
It's just
so
fun.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And then you got Freddy versus Jason. But it did get me thinking about how that movie came out in was it 2008, I believe. Yeah, the remake or the reboot or whatever. 2008, 2009, maybe 2009. Which gives me it's been 12 years since we've seen a Friday the 13th movie, not counting Freddy versus Jason, which may have been before that, which surprises me because there was another one in the works, a sequel to that one, because it made a decent chunk of money, and something happened, it fell into development hell, and now it's been 12 years is a long time.
Yeah, I think there's lots of licensing issues. I think there's different companies own different bits of it.
I think that's partly what it is, but it's just funny because like in 12 years we've had like 5 Halloween movies. You know what I mean? It's just funny that like they can't seem like it's a popular franchise. You know what I mean? If they put another one out, if you keep your budget low, $15-20 million, you're guaranteed to make 50-60 million at the box office easy. You can be churning these out and making money. I just don't understand how they can't sort of get it figured out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jason's one of the iconic movie maniacs, isn't he? So.
Right. He's one of the 3 iconic, all-time slashers, Freddy, Jason, and Michael Myers. So It's just weird to me that they've just been sitting on that when there's money to be made. But anyway.
Yep. Okay. Well, my number 2 is, I'm not going to go into spoilers, but it's Marvel's Eternals. Went to see it the other week. It's been getting mixed reviews. I enjoyed it, but it's too long. Some of the dialogue is an absolute mess. But it was good seeing some of these characters I like from the Eternals comic book. But it's sort of kind of like, I do find the Eternals comic book as well. Sort of, it never really caught on. It's only got like a small hardcore group of fans, I feel. And even when I've read some of it, I always felt like it was a bit too. I enjoyed the comics, but it always felt like it was a bit like one step away from the rest of the Marvel universe, which I suppose is the point. But some of the performances in it as well, I just feel maybe either the casting wasn't quite right or the script. But it's it looked beautiful in places, and it does get some of the cosmic scale. Again, I don't want to spoil things, but it's I enjoyed it. I can see why people don't like it. I can see lots of the problems people are saying, but I think it would have worked better with at least 2 movies. I mean, Marvel did do great things by introducing characters bit by bit. They could have had some of the Eternals popping up either in the background or doing some things or reports in the other films, or some of the TV shows have some build up to it. So it's not just because you spend all your time being introduced to these different characters and being told about them without seeing. We do get flashbacks and things. I would have liked to have seen a film maybe focusing on more about their past, because they were some of the best bits when you saw them over the 7,000 years they've been on Earth. And I mentioned on social media, said it would have probably been good to have, like they did with Wolverine, X-Men Origins, and with the Watchmen movie, have like a really cool montage of, through the ages, showing what they've done. That would have worked a lot better and probably cut the running time down an awful lot. But it's one of those ones. It's going to be linked. I think it's going to be lumped in with like Thor 2 and Captain Marvel and the other ones, which people don't quite put up there with the other Marvel movies. But it's worth seeing on the big screen, I feel, because of some of these scenes which I can't go into. But yeah, that's my number 2, Eternals.
All right. Well, I know this isn't a list where we rank our films or anything like that, but we have a tie, or whatever. My number 1 is also The Eternals. I went and saw it in the theaters just the other night too. I actually really liked it. I liked it a lot. Is it my favorite Marvel movie? No. Do I think it was pretty awesome? I really do. Here's what I'll say about it. Again, spoiler free, so don't worry if you haven't seen it. I am never a proponent of having to watch movies more than once in order to enjoy them. I definitely have people tell me, well, you just need to watch this movie a second time, and then you'll understand it. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't have to watch a movie a second time to understand it. I don't think that's The Eternals. I understood it perfectly fine the first time.
Yeah, it does. It all makes sense. It all flows.
My experience with Captain Marvel was actually similar, where the first time, because the beginning is kind of purposefully ambiguous, it takes a little while to figure out what's going on. And by the end, you figure it all out. But then when I went to see it a second time, I absolutely loved it because I knew what was happening, right? And I disagree with people who think that Captain Marvel isn't a great film. It's one of my favorite Marvel films. I love Captain Marvel. Everyone else is wrong. But I really like The Eternals, and I actually think it's one of those movies that's going to benefit from a second viewing, because the second time around you'll get it, you'll know what everything means, you'll know sort of why things are happening, and so you can just sort of sit back and enjoy it more. So while I'm not saying, oh, you won't like it the first time, but you'll like it the second time, I do think a second viewing is going to make me like it even more. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. Not saying it's perfect, but I liked the characters a lot. I actually didn't have a problem with the casting, so that's interesting. I thought the visuals were great. The climactic action scene at, towards the end of the film, I thought was phenomenal. I enjoyed the characters quite a bit. I thought they did a good job with having so many characters to introduce, to where I kind of knew who they all were by the end of the movie, which I think can be hard to do. I thought they even fit in a few of the signature good Marvel supporting characters. I thought Kumail Nanjiani was the high point of the movie for me, but I'm also a huge Kumail Nanjiani fan, so not a big surprise. But I know it's getting mixed reviews. I'm a little disappointed in that. I know some people are kind of watching it and aren't loving it, but I really liked it, and I honestly can't wait to see it again, because I think I'm going to love it even more. I think it's going to probably climb up higher on my list of Marvel favorites, when I see it a second time. But I enjoyed it a lot. So that's my number one, was The Eternals. That's the most recent movie I watched, and that's the one I really enjoyed. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So
cool. Yeah, no, everything you say is valid. I think the casting. I think the trouble is, I think a little bit with the script, or because I think the two, like Cersei and Icarus, they were like the two. I felt their chemistry didn't quite work for me. I felt there's more chemistry between Druig and Makari. That kind of thing going on as well. I thought Makari, the speeds, when she we got to finally see her, and the scene she was doing, that was really good speeds to scenes and things like that.
Yeah. I did have a friend of mine point out the Marvel really, he mentioned that he felt Marvel has struggled with diversity in the past, and that this movie really did work well with that. Right? You had an Asian person, you had an African American person, you had a gay person, you had a deaf person. Like there was definitely a lot of representation in the film, and I'm sure that's part of the reason some people don't like it. But I liked that part about it, and I thought it didn't feel forced to me. It felt very organic, because you had such a large cast, of these people who have been here, on this planet for thousands of years, that it's not all going to just be a bunch of, white folks, I thought that was cool, but I thought it was interesting for sure.
I loved finally seeing more of the Celestials as well. I thought the scale of that was amazing. It was really good.
I will say Gemma Chan has jumped up to the list of my people I might be slightly in love with, as well. She played Cersei, and I thought she was awesome. So.
Excellent. Okay. Well, my number one is another film from 2021. It's Liam Neeson film. So again, it's but it was The Marksman. I watched it yesterday with my mum and dad. It was my dad's birthday. Was that yesterday? What day are we on?
Today is Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yeah. I watched it last night, and it was really good, because lots of Liam Neeson film that's sort of like he's the action kind of hero, and I think this one was kind of marketed that way. But he's like an older guy. He's working on a ranch on the border with Mexico, and this woman and her kid get a coyote to show them the way to get over the border, because the cartel are after them, and things happen, and he ends up trying to help them. But it's not just like a big action thing. He's not kicking ass because he's an old guy, but he used to be, and he was a Marine. He's a good sniper, but that doesn't really play into it much until obviously a bit more near the end. But it's him getting to know this the kid as well, and it reminded me of A Perfect World, the Kevin Costner Clint Eastwood film. Really had this. It was more like a relaxed. Well, it's quite tense as well though, but it was just like a road, more like a road movie as opposed to an action movie. But even like the bad guy in it, you even though he does terrible things and he's a terrible person, once you realize what's going on as well, you start going, oh, you almost feel sorry for him. Then obviously he does something and you're going, oh no, but it's just you understand kind of why he's the way he is. But I was genuinely surprised by it. I really enjoyed it, and it was it was worth a watch. And that's on one of the streaming channels, but it's The Marksman.
So it's not one of the 5 most recent films I've seen, but I did watch it when it came out on home video, when I reviewed it, and I really liked it. I agree with you. It's a really good film. It's interesting. It's not an action film per se, but it has some action in it. But it's kind of like an action drama. It reminded me of A Perfect World. It also kind of felt like if Gran Torino had been a good movie. as opposed to being Gran Torino, which everyone just thinks is a good movie, I guess, in that sort of respect. But I agree with you. I thought Liam Neeson's performance was really good. I thought the blend of the action and the drama was great. Like, it was enough to keep you kind of interested. It never got boring, but it also had plenty of character development, and made you care about the characters. You know, it also managed to be timely without being preachy, which I loved. It's a really good film, underrated, highly underseen, definitely worth checking out though.
Some amazing cinematography as well, especially when you're near the beginning where you see the desert, just the scale of it. You just get the real sense of scale, and the fact there's the big sky country and things like that. Yeah, and I thought it does a nice job of giving you kind of the ending. Not to spoil, I'm not spoiling anything. It doesn't go in a bunch of unrealistic places, I thought. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways to take a movie like that, and I felt like it kept things realistic. Like, you were never at any point like, oh, come on, that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, you throughout the film, you were kind of like, all right, I see where this is going, or I think I see where this is going, or maybe it's not going the way I think it's going. And I felt like the choices they made were all good ones. Solid real world choices, not things that you're like, well, isn't that just Hollywood being Hollywood? So I liked it. I liked it very much. Good. I'm glad you watched it. Yeah, and it was good as well. Catherine Winnick was in it. I thought she was great. Yes, she was terrific. I really liked her in it, for sure. And I still think she should have been Captain Marvel. But anyway, here we go. Brie Larson is excellent as Captain Marvel. I don't understand people. Okay, Richard Brown weighs in with his top 5 most recent movies he's seen. I'm gonna put this on screen. I'm not gonna read every thing. I don't want to give one or two comments might be mildly spoilerish, but not really. But number 5 was No Time to Die, which we talked about. I loved it. Number 4, The Guilty. Interesting that came up in a conversation the other day. It's a new Netflix film with Jake Gyllenhaal. Guilty of being a tad bit predictable. I haven't watched it yet, but I saw the original movie. It's based on a Danish movie. Yeah. And I watched that a couple years ago when it came out. So it's put me off of watching The Guilty only because I know what's going to happen. But I'll get around to it. Black and Blue. From 2019, smart and punchy indie thriller. Agreed. Really good with is it Naomi Harris? Yes, Naomi Harris. Yeah, really good kind of action suspense film about a cop kind of on the run from other cops. I really enjoyed that one. Good. 1917, just stunning, he says. Yep, good one. I enjoyed 1917 as well. And then Army of Thieves, the sort of a prequel to Army of the Dead, or whatever that movie is called, right? Army of the Dead? Army of the Dead, yeah. The Zack Snyder film. I just saw that pop up out of nowhere. Surprised me on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but it's very high on my queue. I've seen it. I really enjoyed Army of Thieves. And I enjoyed it more than Army of the Dead. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, well, I can see, different kinds of films, sort of, although not, but yeah, it does have, you do see the links starting with the Army of the Dead. I really like the main character. He's my favorite bit, and one of my favorite bits from Army of the Dead as well. Yes, he was definitely one of the best parts. He directed it as well, I think. Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay, cool. Yeah. And it doesn't have the Zack Snyder out of focus, shallow depth of field, so you can actually see what's going on, and that's nice, clear. Very cool. Well, that. Good list. That was a good list. Thanks for sharing that, Richard. All right, cool. I think some good stuff there. And he did also say he's adding some of them to his watch list, so I'm glad. I hope you enjoy some of the ones that we've. So our work here is done. Let's go. You are right, except we have one more mini section to get through. This one will be quick. We won't take up too much more of your time, guys, but we got one more thing for those of you who are interested, and it is our ATE Recommends section. What are we enjoying right now? So, Phil, do you want to kick us off? Yes, I've got one. It was a game I kickstarted. I'm not sure whether I've got two things. I'm not sure whether I've mentioned this before. It's one of those ones when I grabbed it and went, but it's Kabuto Sumo. Have I done this before? No, you have not. Anyway, because I don't. Hang on, let me put you in solo. Oh yeah. Let me put you in solo so our viewers can see it better. Hold it up again. Okay. Kabuto Sumo. It's basically you're playing a beetle having a sumo wrestling match, but that's what it is. It's all lovely wooden discs. The colored ones are your beetles, and you push on a new disc each time. It's like the things you see in fun fairs where you put coins in. Right. Any that get knocked off get added to your pot, and you can push them over. And then if you knock the opponents off, and each beetle has a different special ability, which usually means you get a bigger thing, as you can see those there. Right. Where are we there? But it's lots of fun. Nice, easy one to just set up and play. And that looks really fun. I'm gonna check that one out. I like that. I got on Kickstarter, but I think it's out for sale now for retail. And the other one is I DM'd my local game store. I regular viewers will know I'm a dungeon master for a group of friends. I've been running an adventure for 5 years, big campaign. but the local game store near me called Bulwark Games, they wanted somebody to run an intro session for Dungeons and Dragons. So I was quite excited. It went really well. People enjoyed it. But I got this little adventure called Beneath the Keep, part of 5th edition fantasy, number 14. And it's a great little adventure. It's only 16 pages, but it's got everything you need. It's laid out really well. It's a good little adventure involving role-playing, investigation, combat. The players are trying to investigate the disappearance of a shopkeeper. It's also a good starting point for a campaign if you wanted to do so. But it's it's a level 1 as well. So if you're looking to start running an adventure, that's a good one to go. I want to check out some of the other ones they do in the series, but that's Beneath the Keep, 5th edition fantasy. Yep, so that's mine.
Very cool. I like it. I'm definitely interested in playing that sumo game.
It's real good fun. I think it's up to 4 players.
Cool.
2 to 4 players, takes about 15 to 20 minutes a game.
I like it. All right. Well, I have 2 also, but it won't take too long. Let me go ahead and show them. First one is, hang on. So there we go. Now I did. My computer's lagging, so I just entered and then exited the mode so you guys can see it. The first one is this, Catwoman Lonely City. This is one of the new prestige format books, the square bound from DC's Black Label, which has been hit or miss. This copy is autographed by Cliff Chang, who wrote it and
him.
Drew it. He's fantastic. And I have to say, my level of fandom for him jumped up about 20 notches after reading this. This is just the first issue, all that's out so far. Hands down the best comic I read in all of 2021. I mean, it is amazing. Ooh. First of all, the artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. The colors, I mean, there's Catwoman, right? They're gorgeous. The story is phenomenal. It takes place in the future where Catwoman is, Batman's basically gone. Catwoman is old. She's just getting out of jail. She comes back to the city. Two-Face is now the mayor. And there's a whole story beyond that. It's beautiful. The story was just gripping. I could not turn the pages fast enough. I think it is absolutely brilliant. I hope I think it's 3 issues total. I hope the next 2 issues live up to this first one because, like I said, hands down, the best single comic I read all year. It is utterly fantastic. Track it down at your local comic shop. You will not regret it.
Cool. I'm writing that down as we speak.
Yes, you will definitely enjoy it. The other recommendation, a little self-serving, but it's Red, White, and Broke, which is on Kickstarter right now. For those of you guys,
what's that about, Mike? Who did that?
Here's the thing: if you like the sequels we come up with in the show, if you like the stories we come up with, that means you probably like my writing because my endings, I come up with them, right? So you might like my comic book, Red, White, and Broke. It's on Kickstarter until November 18th. This is a lovely homage cover that's available. It's an homage to X-Men 141, The Days of Future Past. We have comics. We have the whole 4-issue miniseries available. We have signed prints by Russ Brown, the artist of The Boys. We have variant covers, regular covers. There's like 25 plus artwork rewards for original artwork collectors. And it's a fun superhero comedy about a superhero who tries to kickstart his superheroics because he's flat broke. What more could you ask for? So if you like this show and you're a regular listener and you think like, hey, I enjoy listening to Mike and Phil talk, they're fun guys, then you probably would like my comic because it is basically like me in comic book form. It's my voice coming through. I think if you like what I do on this show, you'll like that one. So shameless plug, admittedly, I know, but I've only got like 9 days left in the Kickstarter. We are fully funded, but we're trying to reach some stretch goals. So check it out. You can, again, through November 18th, you can just go on Kickstarter and search for Red, White, and Broke or search for Mike Spring, and either one of those should bring you to it. And the current campaign is for issues 1 through 4, the complete miniseries. So those are my recommendations.
And I've read the first 2 issues, and it's very good. I'm based in England. Mike's over in the States, so the shipping and things, if it's too much for you, you can get them in PDF form as well. And the PDF looks gorgeous as well. And it's just, I recommend it. It's only 4 issues. It's support your independent comic book creator. Who's that guy? There. That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Phil, very much. So there you go. So those are our recommendations. Definitely excited to try that game. Definitely read Catwoman, The Lonely City. You guys will love it. And there you go. So, all right. And there it is. So that was a lively and spirited chat, I think, Phil. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too.
Yeah, me too.
And And Richard Brown put a comment in. I don't understand what it means. Oh, thieves better than dead. Saying that Army of Thieves was better than Army of the Dead. That one took me a second, Richard, to translate.
Yeah,
but
we moved on a little bit. Yeah,
I got it now. Well, I will probably agree with you guys once I watch it. It'll be probably by the end of this week. I'm going to get to it. So, all right.
If you like heist
well, that's
movies,
going to start to wrap us up. Yeah, if you like heist movies, that's what it is. So I'm looking forward to it. I do like heist movies actually. So, all right, that is going to wrap us up though. We've been talking to you guys long enough. We will be back in a couple of weeks. But as always, we greatly appreciate you guys tuning in, whether you're watching us live on video or listening to the podcast or watching the video replay on YouTube or some other channel. It's always great to have people checking us out and listening to us talk about movies. So there we go. All right.
Yeah.
So
in between now and the next episode, if there's any films you'd like us to go after the ending that we haven't already done, we may forget if we have or not, because we've done quite a few now. You can always get in touch with us on Facebook, Twitter, or whatever, and let us know. Just give us some suggestions, top 5 lists, whatever. Just get in touch.
Yeah, love it. Always like to hear the suggestions. All right, then. That's going to do it for now. So as always, thank you very much for listening. I'm Mike Spring.
And I'm Phil Edwards.
And we'll see you next time.
After the ending.